All right, today is our free meetup, and we're talking about how to have a 5-session something, whether it's a 5-session mastermind, masterclass, 5 sessions challenge. Oftentimes you see it listed as a 5-day challenge. There's Shanti. Yeah, she doesn't know 1965. What year were you born, Shanti? Oh, you're on mute.
85.
85, yeah. Such a youngster. Yes, yes. So she's even younger than my daughter. Anyway, we're talking about how to create, your 5-day challenge or your 5-day masterclass or your 5-day mastermind. Now, when I say 5-day, what I want to segue and say 5-session, because you could do it once a week, you could do it once a month, you could do it 5 days in a row. It's however you want to do it. Now, here's what I will tell you. If you're going to do a 5-day challenge, get rested up, because it will kind of take it out of you. I've had a couple of students just recently that did their 5-day challenges, and they came off of the other end of it exhausted, because first of all, you put your program together, and the way you're putting your program together, whatever product or services you're trying to sell, is you're going to come up with 5 pain points that folks struggle with. And so that's going to be a topic for each day. Now, the more often you have this 5-session, whatever, you'll fine tune those 5 pain points. You could combine a couple later on, because maybe the conversation wasn't as large around a pain point as you thought it was going to be. Or maybe your group came up with an additional pain point that they really wanted some answers to, that you hadn't thought of, and that you now want to include in a future 5 sessions. So that it's kind of a fluid situation. As you have these, you'll get better, and you'll fine tune your topics so that you're entering the conversation in your audience's mind more than making them enter the conversation in your mind. But you have to start somewhere. So the best way, if you're going to be doing any type of a challenge or a mastermind, you're going to answer the questions that you had. I mean, that's why you're in the business that you're in. Whatever it is that you're selling, whatever service, whatever product, there was a time that you needed that service and product, and that's why you got interested in it. Or you were in an environment where you saw folks. Maybe you worked at a company, and that was just, what you learned, and you saw there was such a need out there, and now you've decided to branch off and do it on your own. But either way, you've seen what a lot of the questions are. So when you show up with, we're going to, for generic reasons, we're going to call it a 5-day challenge. When you show up with a 5-day challenge and you're ready to launch, you're going to answer those pain points that you've already seen out there, or that you've had an earlier version of you that have had those pain points. So anyway, now once you're started and you're ready to go, you've spent some time putting this program together. And like Mason, you might have your PowerPoint ready to go. And you've already chosen, what kind of a platform you want to do, whether you want to do it on a Zoom call like this, or a Zoom webinar, or whether you're using a different platform. There's conference.com, there's Hopin, there's, a lot of your websites. If you're in an all-inclusive type platform, it may even have a place where you can do some video calls inside your own platform of your website. So it's whatever you decide. I prefer Zoom only because it's easy to navigate, and after coming through the pandemic, almost everybody has had the opportunity to be on a Zoom call a time or two. And what it does is it makes it easier for your audience to tap in, because they're like, oh yeah, I'm familiar with that. And the more comfortable they are tapping into some technology, the easier it's going to be for you to not be worried about the technical piece of it, and for you to just concentrate on I'll call it your performance, because you're now on stage. This is your 5-day challenge. You are now on stage. You are now the authority in the room, and you are now going to moderate this 5-session of whatever you're doing. And so you've put a lot of time and energy just to get to day 1. So now you have to be ready if you've not done a lot of these. And that's why this is such a good opportunity here on this what are we, the fourth Friday? I always have to look at my calendar to make sure I say that correctly. We are on the fourth Friday of every month, and everyone in our audience gets a turn. I've taken a turn. Angela is not with us today, but she's had a turn. Linda is now taking a turn. We're going to turn it over to Linda here in just a moment. Mason's had a turn. Debbie's going to be our next one that's going to facilitate. And what it does is it gives you some experience of moderating the room. And you think, oh, how hard can that be? But if you end up with a group that doesn't talk, you have to now pull some conversation, because the whole goal of having a 5 session of whatever it is you're doing is you want to have the group start to share. You want to start to develop a deeper relationship, not necessarily between you and the members, which is going to happen, but you want the members to start developing relationships with each other. And the reason for that is at the end of the 5 sessions, and 5 is the magic number, because at the end of 5 sessions, folks don't want it to end, because they have made connections inside that group. And they have started feeling like they're a community. And so they don't want it to end. So then when you offer a paid whatever at the end, where you're going to now monetize what you're doing, once you get through your free 5 sessions, and now you're going to say, anybody that wants to continue on a paid mastermind, here's the link. And you can do all kinds of things, to make it feel a little scarcity, like, hey, I'm giving everybody a discount if you sign up while you're on this call or whatever, and get them to click over and sign up then for the mastermind. And again, you have to know your audience well enough to know even what kind of a price point that they're going to handle. If you have something that you've priced totally out of their reach, then you're going to have less conversion. But if you're taking them through 5 sessions of a free 5-day challenge, so that they get to see the topics and how you facilitate, and they start to gel with the group, they're more likely to register at the end instead of less likely, as long as you hit some options that they can afford. And so we're going to talk about some of that stuff. But today, when we start off with this five sessions, we start off, number one, on what's the purpose of having it, and what type of a platform, are you going to use, and what type of a framework are you going to put your topics together. But today we want to talk about, how do you invite folks? Once you have that piece done, your topic, your platform, you've got your PowerPoint ready to go. Mason was just talking about how his PowerPoint, he couldn't use it and he had to wing it. So once you're ready to go, then how are you going to invite people? How are you going to get folks to know that you're doing this? And there's a ton of free things that you can do. Now, you hear all about funnels, and you hear, okay, you have to have this sales funnel, and people, tap on the funnel. Well, all a funnel is a landing page. So don't get down in the weeds and get so confused about a sales page, a landing page, a funnel page. It's all the same thing. Okay. A sales page, a funnel page, a landing page. Those are all interchangeable words. Now, they all look a little different, because if you go to a company that sells funnels, they're going to call it a funnel. And the reason that you might buy a funnel program or software is because they've done all of the connections for you. They've done all the links for you. You just plug your stuff in and the funnel is ready to go. And and they're charging for that, of course. And so, you're going to go down and click here to get the VIP ticket, and it's going to automatically send you over, to a collections page where they can put in their credit card number. And so you're thinking, well, I'm not a programmer. I don't want to have to program all that. So if I don't want to spend the money on an actual funnel program, how can I advertise? I'll call it my 5-day challenge. Well, believe it or not, Eventbrite is free, and Eventbrite is simply a miniature funnel. It's a miniature sales page. And Eventbrite is free for you to use. And the only time Eventbrite charges you is when someone clicks in. If, let's say, you're charging, let's say it's a free 5-day challenge, but there's a $99 VIP upsell. Only if they click on the $99 upsell, Eventbrite just charges you the processing fees to process that. Is that a sweet deal or what? Okay, so Eventbrite, and they give you a link. It already lets you click it over into your social media. You can add a picture. It's its own little template, sales page, landing page, sales funnel. And it's so easy. So don't overthink it. And if you don't want to spend the money on a big funnel program, it's an easy way to advertise your event. Whether you're doing a single masterclass or a 5-day challenge or just a free meetup to, go hiking in the woods, whatever event you want to do, you can do it on Eventbrite. So don't overlook something as simple and readily available as Eventbrite. Another thing that I really like is you can go into Facebook events. You can go into LinkedIn events. You can also create a meetup on meetup.com. And so some of you may have found this particular event on Meetup. I actually have a Meetup. Now on Meetup, there is a $99 charge for the year. I think it's $98 and some odd cents. I don't know right offhand. And you're allowed to have up to 3 meetups on that small of a fee. And so if you're planning on doing, a couple, 3 different events, now you can put all of your events in one meetup group. It depends if let's say company is, I'll just use real estate, for example. Let's just say that my company is real estate investing. I can have 20 different events underneath that one meetup if they all pertain to real estate investing. You see where I'm going with that? You don't have to, each event does not have to have its own meetup. You just have one meetup group and put all of your events in there. Okay. But you could have up to 3 groups. And so if you have different lanes, then I recommend that you have different groups. And I recommend that not only on Meetup, but also on Facebook. If you're going to create a group and it's a whole different lane, then it should be a different group. And here's why. And I'll just give you an example. Not only, I'm a passive income coach, and you can see that right here in my little Hollywood square. Okay, now Shanti, please tell me that you do remember Hollywood squares, right? Okay, because I think Zoom reminds me of Hollywood squares. Here's my square and it lights up when I talk. So whoever is talking, your square lights up. So in my square, there's my passive income coach. And you can see where Mason has storyteller next to his. I recommend that you go in on your name line and do a little advertising. So no matter what Zoom call you go into, you're kind of advertising what you're doing right there on your Zoom. And you can add that right in your profile on your name line. You can add, your passive income coach, that sort of thing. So I recommend that you do that. And so with that said, being a passive income coach, one of the things that I do as passive income is real estate investing. Well, real estate investing is one lane. Well, now I'm talking about having passive income by doing a 5-day challenge. And you're like, okay, how's that passive? Well, I'm going to share that in just a moment. But it's 2 separate lanes. And so when I create a group in Facebook, I have 2 separate groups. I have the real estate investor group, and I have the 5-day challenge group. And then I have an authors group, and I have a bloggers group, because somebody that's interested in having a 5-day challenge is probably not interested in starting, a real estate investing company. Or maybe somebody that wants to start a bed and breakfast isn't interested in writing a book. But see, all those lanes are passive income for me. And so I teach how to have passive income in about 8 different lanes. So I have 8 different groups. So on Meetup, I have 8 different groups. And so you're saying, okay, now if you're only allowed to have 3, how do you do that? Now, there are some hacks, because on Meetup, and I will tell you this, if you go great guns, let me just go back and share. Last night, I had one of my Happy House Hunter meetups, and I had 3 new members show up for the in-person meetup. And I asked each of the 3 of them, I said, how did you find us? And they all said on meetup.com. So it does work. And so especially if you're going to do something in person or something live like this on a Zoom, the Meetup works really well, the meetup.com. So anyway, once I reached my 3 and I thought, okay, I want to do more because I want to put, I made the decision I'm going to have 8 different lanes. So 8 different groups. Well, if I went Meetup Pro, it was $30 a month per group. And I'm like, what? $30 a month per group. So 30 times 8, we're talking $240 a month if I wanted to do all 8. Now, I don't know if they gave me the first 3 and I only paid $30 a month for the remaining ones. I didn't go that far because once I saw that price ticket, I went, oh, nope, hold. So I thought, well, how can I do this? Well, I already had 2 email addresses. So I simply went in and registered for another Meetup under my second email because I have an SBC Global email and then I have a Gmail. So I just went under my Gmail and did 3 more groups for $99 for the whole year. So you see, you have to kind of think through some of these things. Okay, does that make sense? So anyway, now I have 8 different lanes. I have 8 different groups in Facebook. I have 8 different groups on Meetup. And so now whenever I create an event inside that group, I then make an event in that Facebook group. I make an event in that Meetup group. And then I have everyone pointed back to one platform. So now you have to have what I'm going to call it your home base. What is your home base? Where do you want to send people? If you're sending these different lanes or these different topics all over the place, people start to get confused. So you need one spot that you're going to send everybody that makes it simplified. And that should be your website. So your website is going to turn into one big giant sales funnel sales page. Okay. Your website is going to basically break down, very simplified, keep it really, really simple. You want to appeal. Now, are you ready for this, folks? You want to appeal to a 6th grader. Do you know why Reader's Digest is so popular for so many years? Because it's written at about a 6th grade level. And you want to make your website that a 6th grader could figure it out. And Shanti says, how do you allocate time for all your lanes? Yeah, I'll share that in a second. So you want it that if a 6th grader went to your website and then you turned around and asked them, what is it that I do? They could tell you. If they can't tell you, then you're too confusing. Okay. And think about it. Think about everything that's coming at us. We've got emails, we've got text messages, we've got all this social media, and many of us are on Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest, and all of this stuff is coming at us all day long. And if we go to somebody's website and we have to dig down in the thought process and try to figure out what they're telling us to do next, chances are we're going to move on. Now, if we like the topic, we may save it and say we're going to come back to it later. How many of us actually come back to it later? It gets buried, because the other stuff's still coming. And so it gets buried and we keep thinking, one day I need to go back and revisit that. And we just never quite get around to it. So you have to make it super simple as soon as they land on your website that they know what it is you want them to do. Now, I have another whole course on that called Build a Better Business. And so for those of you that want to learn more about how to put together your website, it's under my Build a Better Business program. So I'll just toss that out there. And so here is the question for Shanti is how do you allocate time for all your lanes? The first thing I did, and I'm just, I don't know, this is, my brain thinks like this. When I got into the salon business, now here's an example of how you're weaving your story into what you're doing. When I got into the salon business, I was still working a full-time job, and I was going to try to build a client base a couple of nights a week and Saturdays. And so I signed on with this salon, and they had a little high school girl at the desk. Okay. Now remember, you got to go back and appeal to that 6th grader. So I had a high school girl at the desk, and of course it was just a job to her. And so, and whatever she did, she was going to take the easy path, as you do as a teenager, and maybe as you do now, but she was going to take the easy path. And I knew that. So I thought, how can I create an appointment book that would make her go to my book first whenever anybody wanted an appointment? So I didn't go to Sally's, which is a store just for cosmetologists, and their appointment books are empty, and you have to fill in the dates and the times, and it's just kind of an empty page. I went to the office supply store and got an actual appointment book where when you opened it up, you could see the whole week, the whole Sunday through Saturday week, and all the times were already there and everything. I mean, it was a business appointment book. And I took a yellow marker and I marked each time that I wanted an appointment. And I knew that I wanted to fill up my book on Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, and Saturdays. And so I put 6 o'clock on Tuesday. I put like an 8 o'clock on Tuesday, a 6 o'clock on Thursday, an 8 o'clock on Thursday, and 9 o'clock on Saturday. And I highlighted, and I gave myself a couple of hours for each appointment. And I highlighted all the times that I wanted. And then I gave her my book. Then the second thing that I did is I was dependable. I came through the door at 6 o'clock every Tuesday and Thursday. Even I didn't know whether I had an appointment or not because I hadn't talked to the girl all day. I'd been on my other job. But at 6 o'clock every Tuesday, and at 6 o'clock every Thursday, and at 9 o'clock every Saturday, I came through the door, to where after a couple of weeks of that, she knew she could depend on me to come through the door. And so all of a sudden, when people started walking in or calling in or wanting an appointment, whose book do you think she booked first? Because it was easy. She knew exactly when to book them, and she knew I was going to show up and that they weren't going to be standing there screaming at her that they were here for their appointment and where's the tech that's supposed to be doing their service. And all of a sudden, within about 6 months, my little Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays were totally filled. Within 6 months, I had a full book, to the point where I actually cut back on my day job, added more hours. And within 24 months, I was full-time in the salon business. And within 3 years, I had my own salon. And within 5 years, I had 5 salons. And within 20 years, I had 5 paid for commercial buildings. And it all started with me deciding where I wanted to plug in my business. And then I worked it like I was working for someone else. Oftentimes when we're self-employed, we have a tendency to go, I really need to do that. And we never quite get around to it. We have great ideas and we never quite launch. So putting it down on paper and working it as if you're working for someone else is going to make a huge difference. And so with that said, when Shanti said, how do you allocate time for all your lanes? I got out my calendar, just like I did in the salon business. I got out my calendar and I plugged in, these are the days that I'm going to work on the different lanes. Okay. And I wanted to do free meetups. So all my free meetups are on Friday mornings at 10. I wanted to do masterminds. All my masterminds are on Mondays at noon. And so I simply just plugged that in. And then I show up, and Debbie's been with me a long time, and Mason's been with me for quite a while. And I show up every time. The only time we might skip or move something is if it falls on a holiday. Like we have Labor Day coming up. So we're gonna move those or skip those masterminds on Labor Day, because nobody wants to talk to me on Labor Day when their family's in town. So, but the point is that you become dependable. You show up, you put it on the calendar, and then you just, you plan your work, you work your plan. And so when you do that, then you don't get resentful. You don't have folks, contacting you in between and, wanting a piece of you when you're trying to have some downtime, because you already have it scheduled. So anyway, and we're talking about, Debbie, go ahead. Question. You're on mute.
Yeah.
There you go.
So you said plan your work, and then what did you say?
And work your plan.
Work my plan.
Yeah, plan your work and then work your plan.
Each time you talk about your lanes, you always have nuggets in there that you've not said before. And it's amazing. The notes, I've taken 2 pages of notes today just on this. So thank you.
Now, and you see an example right there of how I took my story and I weaved it into my answer. And you see how that transfers the information so much easier than just answering a question. You see how your story becomes so important. It's the cornerstone of everything that you're doing. Weave your story in every chance you get. My answer was much more interesting when I threw the whole salon scenario in there than if I just said, I'll put it on a calendar, Shanti, and it'll work out. You see the difference? Okay. So your storytelling is your selling. Your storytelling is your selling. Okay. That's your whole marketing selling piece, is your storytelling. Okay. Yes, Mason says he's taken a writing class for business that taught to write between 4th and 6th grade level. Yes, yes, thank you for that. That's exactly where we need to be. So when you create your website, just keep that in mind. Keep it short and sweet. And here's step 1, step 2, step 3. You know, if you want to work with me, here are the steps to work with me. You know, for me, it's like go to a free meetup, you know, have a strategy call with me if you want, take the course, join the mastermind. Get one-on-one coaching if you want to move faster through the steps. And so it's just a step-by-step process right down the page of my website. So anyway, hopefully that helps. So that's how we invite, that's how we schedule, that's how you get it on the books. But when you're going to do a 5-day, if you're going to do it every day for 5 days, a Monday through Friday or whatever, give yourself some margins, because it's going to take a lot out of you. Because you're going to be on that whole time. You know, you're going to be presenting, you're going to be the authority in the room, you're going to be the one steering the conversation. And if you don't have a team, like, you know, if we're getting started, none of us have a team, we're just doing this on our own. You're managing the chat, you're managing the people that's entering the room, you're clicking them through if they're in the waiting room or however they're getting into your webinar or meetup, and you're also presenting and you're answering questions. And so see, you're wearing all the hats. And when you do that for a couple of hours and then you're doing it 5 days in a row, don't plan anything that following weekend. Give yourself some time, you know, to let the air out, you know, but then you're not done. Because then comes the follow-up. Be sure and do the follow-up. And this is where most people fail. They put all of this time and energy into having that 5 session, and then they don't do the follow-up. So make sure you get that on the list. So anyway, we are doing John Maxwell's book, Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. And this is Linda's 3rd session of her 5 sessions. And so I'm going to turn it over to Linda and let her do her thing. Linda, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm just opening my screens, etc. I am so excited once again to be connecting with you all today. To talk about John Maxwell's book. Shanti, I can't remember, have you been to any of our previous talks, or is this your first?
This will be my first.
Okay, awesome. So the book we're talking about is by John Maxwell, and it's called Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. And I'm going to open up the chat here real quickly and drop in the link to the summary. So the book is awesome. I highly recommend it. And here we go again. It does not want to drop for me. That makes me very unhappy. Copy. And return. There we go.
I'm going to make you the host. So if for some reason I get bumped out of the meetup, you have to let me back in.
Okay.
Because you are now the host.
Yeah. So as I was saying, the book is very, very good. There are so many gold nuggets in it. But for starters, you can download the book summary for free, and at least gives you an idea what the book is about and some of the key points. We're covering chapter 6 today, which is called Connectors Connect on Common Ground. Okay, so there is so much material in this chapter that there's no way to go over it really fully, but I'll just cover a few key points. John talks about some of the things that people run into that keep them from connecting effectively with other people. One is that they assume that they already know what the other person thinks and feels. And that's a pretty mistaken place to start in any relationship or any conversation, but people do it. And one of the things I love about this book from John Maxwell is he is so transparent about all the gigantic failures and faux pas that he has done over the years, what an oaf he has been, how tone deaf he's been. And I just can't believe how candid he is about all of that. And I think the reason he can cover all this is because he's pretty much made all the mistakes, maybe. So assuming that you know what the other person is thinking is one of the mistakes people make. Another one is just being arrogant and just saying, I don't even need to know what the other people think or feel or what they want. I don't need it. Another mistake is being indifferent. And that's where they just say, I don't care what they want. And boy, that is definitely no way to go through life. And another issue that people run into is controlling. They don't want other people to know what they actually feel or think or want. And we had had a little conversation about this on a previous meeting about vulnerability and kind of stepping out of your shell and sharing what is going on in your mind, your heart, what you need. And being vulnerable is really a challenge. And I think everyone struggles with it to one degree or another. I know I am such a private person that on the social media front, it's like, how exactly am I going to step out and make myself known when I don't know how much I really want to share about myself, you know? And so it's a growth journey for all of us, and I am definitely on it myself. There are some ways that you can get a little bit better at seeing what another person thinks, what's going on in their head. And this is a pretty common little acronym that people like to use when, especially if they're in networking groups and they're meeting people. It's called FORM, F-O-R-M. And if you kind of go down this little outline while you're meeting someone new, you can get to know a pretty surprising amount about them in pretty short order. And so the F stands for family, the O stands for occupation, the R stands for recreation, and the M stands for message. And if you kind of cover each of those and take notes, you can learn a good bit about someone. And I would also suggest while you're doing that, use the information that you learn about the person so that you can freely offer referrals for them. And that is a really wonderful way to build relationships and build your business. And it may be, I mean, when you're giving freely, expecting nothing in return, things do come back. It may not come from that specific person, but it does, what goes around does come around. And you become known as a generous, giving, uplifting, supportive person. And that reputation will serve you very well in business and in the personal world. Kathy's shaking her head.
Tried to unmute. What was FORM again? It was family, occupation,
Recreation and message. And there are other ones as well. I'm going to see if I can pull this up super quick. For those of you who don't know, I'm a gigantic Evernote person. Let me try this. I am not finding it. There's one called hangs and there's one called fangs. And they're just two slightly different ones. And I'm trying to go from memory here. Hangs is like hobbies, awards or accolades. N is like networking groups. The G is eluding me. Maybe what are you grateful for?
Is Linda a little fuzzy or is it just on my side? Is she okay? Is her voice okay? It was a little fuzzy on mine and I thought maybe it was hers. No, I
Oh,
think
okay.
It
Is it coming through for you, Mason?
is for me. I think, Kathy, I think your connection is a little bit weak where you're at.
Oh, Kathy. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think Kathy, yeah, you've paused on mine. You've paused several times. So technology, part of this whole process.
You bet. You bet. And I think the S is like service, like what services do you offer in your business? What services do you provide? How do you serve others? And so the H is hobbies, or if you do fangs, F is family. So that just gives you a few different things that you can use easily as a framework. Go ahead, Mason.
So Shanti asked a good question in the chat about an example for message, because that's actually a really important topic. You know, what is your message? Who are you? So I don't know if you want, if you have a good example of that.
Yeah, like what drives you? What is the passion on your heart that you need to share with the world? Just as an idea.
And that's going to be something you're going to think about and evolve. It's, correct me, help me here, ladies. It's not quite an elevator speech, but it kind of is a short, succinct, who are you? You know, my title, my story title is, you know, storyteller. It's not because I make things up all the time. It's, I want to know your story. I mean, I have no problem sharing my mistakes and my foibles and like that, because that's part of my story. So when you look at this, what is your message? What do you want to do? Seriously, take time to think about it and practice it. And maybe you have to write it down, because it sounds easy on the surface, but it's not, in terms of how do you succinctly convey to people. And if you're an introvert or shy, or well, same word, you know, that's even harder. What are you willing to reveal about yourself in a very limited manner? So you have to, that actually does take a little bit of work on that one, but it can yield huge benefits.
I have something I can throw in that regard, because this drills down to, you know, what is your definite major purpose? What is your reason for being here in the world? What are you trying to accomplish? And there are some, there's a 3-part exercise that a thought leader I follow does. And if you don't mind one slightly off color word, I'll give you his framework. And by the way, his name is Mike Kim, for any of you that know who he is. If you don't, you need to know, because he's awesome. But his framework is what pisses you off. And you need to know what really just gets in your craw. What is a problem or injustice that you think needs to be righted in the world? The second question is, what breaks your heart? And the third question is, what is the problem you're trying to solve? And a lot of times, I'll pause for a moment if you're writing. So a lot of times, if we can take the time in private and figure some of things out, these things, it helps us to have greater clarity as to what direction, what lane we want to be in, and who we want to serve and how we want to do it. So that's something that's been on my mind, even as I was going through this chapter, but I wasn't sure if I was going to bring that into the discussion. So thank you, Mason, for opening up that opportunity, because I think it's a really valuable set of questions that we could all ask ourselves and get clear. Okay. One of the points that John makes in the chapter is that if people like you, they'll listen to you. People like people who care about them. And if people know you care, they'll listen. And of course, there's a very famous saying that we've probably all heard many, many times. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And it's been attributed to a lot of different people, erroneously. But the main thing is it's a really great quote. And something that was brought to my attention recently is, even more so than this, is people will like you if they sense that you like them. So it isn't even, it's more than being interested. It's like, do I actually like you? And it just carries through in your entire conversation, in your body language, in your tone of voice. If someone senses that I like them, it's going to be a whole different conversation. And they do open up, and now we're connecting. And humility, we had alluded earlier to John sharing some of his foibles and mistakes. But you know, he's a very attentive person, always learns and is always applying what he learns. And we could definitely emulate that characteristic of his, because what good is a lesson if you didn't learn from it and incorporate it going forward? There was a story he told in the chapter where he was at a kind of a success summit kind of event, and each person who spoke told about their raving successes and how awesome they are, and their numbers and their accomplishment, and how like basically charmed a life they've lived. And even John, with what he's accomplished, he was sitting there saying, holy cow, I can't hold a candle to these people. How am I going to follow this act? And he started getting down in the mouth himself, listening to all of this self-congratulatory talk. And he actually rewrote his entire speech during the lunch break and came out, and he called his talk something like failures, flops, and foibles. And he just did a whole litany of all the mistakes he's made over the years. He told the people in the audience that he actually couldn't even believe how successful his company had turned out to be with him at the helm. And people began to really take heart, because they were like, they had been feeling like they couldn't measure up to what they were hearing from all these highly successful people. And he actually got a standing ovation at the end, and everyone was very, very much encouraged by the end of his talk. Yeah, Mason.
So in business, when I deal with either interviewing or talking to people about resumes and like that, in that situation, I rarely ask about the resume, because everyone's resume, Shanti's included, probably says you can walk on water and your feet don't get wet. That is what resumes do. So they do. That's what their purpose is. Here's all the great things I've done. The question I always ask or talk to you about is, okay, so not the whole what's your biggest mistake, it's what about you will allow you to continue good progress? What is it about you that will allow you to do good results in whatever the project is? And talking about mistakes, talking about lessons learned, hard learned lessons. For example, that whole story about the PowerPoint, that's funny, it's humorous, but it taught me some huge stuff. So that's what I always ask, but for just that reason, it's what mistakes have you, but essentially what mistakes have you made? So I know I personally do that in business. You know, your resume gets you in the door, but hey, they're meant to say wonderful things. That's fine. And they're all true, I'm sure. What gets you those results? You know, what gets you to that point is like what I actually actively talk about with people. So
That's so true. And I mean, we are all going to make mistakes. Life is messy, and what you want to do is fail forward each time. But I agree with you, Mason. You want to hire for character, and you want to hire for the ability to grow after any kind of event, whether successful or less than successful. You want that character trait that's going to enable them to continue performing in an optimal way with your team. So thank you for that. I have a story I'd like to share with you because it relates to what we're going to talk about next. It's actually a true story from the US Navy. And the first time I saw it, I was riveted. So give me 1 second. And I am going to read this, and I apologize. Okay. So 2 battleships were assigned to a training squadron, and they had been out at sea on maneuvers in heavy weather for several days. So the gentleman who shared this story said he was on the lead battleship and was on watch on the bridge as night fell. The visibility was poor with patchy fog, so the captain remained on the bridge and he was watching all the activities. Shortly after dark, the lookout on the wing of the bridge reported, "Light bearing on the starboard bow." "Is it steady or moving astern?" the captain called out. Lookout replied, "Steady, Captain," which meant we were on a dangerous collision course with that ship. The captain then called out to the signalman, "Signal that ship." And this is the message: "We are on a collision course. Advise you to change course 20 degrees. Back came a signal: "Advisable for you to change course 20 degrees. The captain said, "Send this message. I'm a captain, change course 20 degrees. This is what the reply was: "I'm a seaman second class. You had better change course 20 degrees. By that time, the captain was furious. He spat out, "Send, I'm a battleship, change course 20 degrees. Back came the flashing light: "I'm a lighthouse." We changed course. I know, right? So, a paradigm shift is the aha experience that's associated with finally perceiving or understanding some aspect of the world or a circumstance in a different way. And to me, that story is a classic example of a paradigm shift because it made all the difference once you understood that that was a lighthouse. So the chapter that we're talking about today is about finding common ground. And it seems to me that the core of all of this is that you must be willing to enter into a complete paradigm shift, to go from seeing the world your way through your eyes and your point of view to seeing the world from the other person's point of view. And that requires unselfishness, openness, and flexibility. Many of us are not willing to untether from our own point of view. I mean, that way, our way of seeing the world has been our mainstay for all these years. And giving up that would be so uncomfortable, right? Well, I propose, what if we looked at this change as freeing instead of as sacrifice? Because I think, this is my own little theory that I came up with, I've never heard anybody else say it, but I think when you experience a paradigm shift, you enter into a momentary flow state. Your mind and your body feel very open and free and expansive, and you lose the shackles of your previous limiting beliefs. And so I think it does take some effort to open your mind, but it is so worth it. And when your mind opens to accept another person, your relationship and all that you can do together rises to new heights of possibility. Does anybody have any thoughts about that? Mason, or excuse me, Shanti.
Sorry, I was trying to unmute. So I actually wrote a note to myself the other day, and I'm just going to share it with you because it helps me to change perspective. And I wrote, let's see. Okay, so it was just something just random that came to mind. I said, okay, how can I use this next time for when I'm, maybe having like a different view with anyone, right? So I said, we're seeing, looking, or viewing through different windows. I would love more insight, details from your side. What are your thoughts and how do you feel about that? So when I did that to myself, it made me think about a different point of view that I had with my sister just the other day. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm like, had I asked her to invite me to your side, to your window, and you let me know what you're seeing, I'll understand it. Or I will get a much better insight or details. So that was a shift for me.
Very much so. Wow.
Yeah.
There's a family situation going on right now in my world where two people see things very, very differently. And I'm trying to open my mind to be willing to understand how that other person could possibly have a valid point of view. So once again, growth is occurring or trying to. Mason.
One of the questions I ask, and I started this in business, but now I ask wherever, is I like to ask the question, what is it I don't know? Because I found by asking that question, what is it I don't know? One, it keeps me from pointing fingers, and I can do that in a heartbeat. It allows for me to say, okay, what is there something I'm not aware of before I get too upset, and it gives the other person a chance to say their point of view, and I kind of open it up. And this is another one of those hard-learned lessons. I didn't always do this, but now it's like, okay, well, what is it I don't know? And I actually sometimes will say this in my family when we're talking, having disagreement. I will sometimes ask the question, well, what am I missing? Or what am I missing? What is I don't know, or what am I missing? That's kind of standard phrasing I use. Once again, learning, practicing, and realize, okay, this is the shortest way for me to get past that, to get past my own ego, my own point of view, my own mindset. What is it I don't know? What is it I'm missing? So.
Yeah, that is a really helpful question to ask. And the more questions you ask, the smarter you look. You'd think you'd look dumber, and yet you don't. So by asking, inquiring, and being open to new information to flesh out the picture, we all win, In this chapter, John shared 3 questions that he likes to ask people in order to get to know them better. And I'd like us to take a look at each of the 3 questions. And actually, there's a tiny bit of overlap with the 3-question framework we talked about earlier, but yet they are different. John's first question that he likes to ask to get to know someone a little bit better is, what do you dream about? And I'll go first. And it ties in pretty tidily with what Kathy's doing in the world here. What I really want is to have the time and money freedom to do what I want, when I want to do it, where I want to do it, how I want to do it, and with who I want. And I am making progress toward that goal in a lot of ways already. I'm building steps and building frameworks and building space in my life and building a business that the goal is to accomplish all of that. So it is a journey, and I'm very, very excited to be on it. Would anybody else like to share what they dream about?
Okay, so I'll break the silence. I actually write to I want to her.
Mason, your audio
Um,
is breaking up. So I don't know if it'll get better or not for us.
uh, not like look, but I just
Yeah,
there.
we're not getting you, Mason.
Is that better? Not.
Anyone else have something who has a little bit stronger connection?
I'll go.
Okay.
And it's sort of, I have this little mirror that I have on my desk here. And when you said the question, I immediately looked at this, and it's very simple. I desire to own less so I can enjoy my time to travel, which in turn means I don't need all this stuff. And as you can see in my background, I have a lot of stuff. But at the time, it makes me feel comfortable with my surroundings because I'm surrounded by the things I love. But it gets to a point where you have way too much, and it's time to unload. It's time to unload, get rid of the, I don't want to say baggage, but that's basically what it is. And so I can enjoy what my heart desires to enjoy. So I have this sitting here, and it's right here, and the little saying is right here, and I don't know if you can really see that, but I saw this question, and I forget where, and it immediately grabbed me. And they always say that you need a mirror to look back at, so you have, I forget how it goes, but anyways, this mirror, when I look at it, I see myself and what I desire. And it reminds me to move forward.
I
There you
love
go.
that. It really personalizes and internalizes the message, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
That's very cool.
Thank you.
Speaking of images, does anybody do vision boards for what they're trying to pursue? Kathy does. Debbie? Hi, Shanti does. I learned something recently that's a real simple way to do a vision board. Instead of, the old magazine method and the paste and the tape and all that, and or maybe push pins on a cork board, you can actually go into your Canva account, select collages, the templates for collages, and then drop in the images of the things that are meaningful to you for your vision board. Yeah, super cool, right? And then you could save the image, and you could have it be the background on your computer screen if you wanted. And you can make them as often as you want, like say monthly, to keep yourself motivated. And you can keep your previous images and not be undoing in order to create a new one. And you can capture images from the internet. You can go to like Google Images and find images if you don't already have, see, a photograph of something that is one of your goals. And that's an easy way to get images to drop into your vision board.
Can I add one more thing, Linda?
Yeah.
And I know I'm trying to figure out how I can show you, but off on my wall here, I like a vision board. I got a map of the United States. It's big, and I put it on my cork board. And what I have done is I have put a flag, a push pin, into every place I have been. And if that's not motivation to go other places, I got to tell you, and when I was babysitting my granddaughter last year, which now she's gone to kindergarten, but she would always help me put a fat flag into the map. So and you can see this black board here. I just hung that, and I'm a Goodwill shopper. I got that to put my new vision board in for me, but I love this idea of Canva because, you know, I can make one of those canvas, print it out and put it on there. And yeah, if you don't have a vision board or a map of the United States, I'm telling you, it just does something to you when you look at it. It revives you. So if you guys got to do this because it really helps.
I agree. Thank you for that. And you know, people who use vision boards attest over and over and over again that it's just crazy how those things that you focus your mind on begin to occur. And it is a wonderful way of there. I can see it. Oh, there you go. So yeah, definitely set your mind, you know, intently on goals that you want to accomplish. And your mind has a way of seeking to make that occur, which is so exciting. And Debbie, I just wanted to commend you because what a wonderful influence on your granddaughter. I mean, she is experiencing the excitement of you going each place, and you're building that love and desire inside of her, and it's going to be in her forever.
I
agree.
have a comment too as well. Can everybody hear me pretty clear? Yes. Okay. My comment is I also use it for my business. When I was ready to launch my bed and breakfast, for example, I knew that I wanted to do that, but I didn't know how. I didn't know all the parts and pieces and what I had to do first or whatever. But what I did is I went ahead and put it out across my Facebook page that said, coming soon, guest house, you know, the Caraway guest house. And Mark even said to me, he goes, isn't that a little premature? And I said, yeah, but you know what? Now I got to put my money where my mouth is because I've already announced it. So now I have to do it. And what it did is it forced me to go forward. And it had that, I already had that vision, but it forced me to go forward because I had already put it out on Facebook with a picture of what it was going to look like. And so then I had to go forward with it and actually accomplish that. And it kind of forced me to take the next step. So I've done that in a lot of my businesses, is that I launch first and create second. So just a little tip.
Yeah. And there are so many experts that really commend that, in that if you try to create the thing from scratch in anticipation of what you think people will want, you may actually be barking up the wrong tree. But if you put it out there and then are talking with people, once again, connecting, finding out what people think, what people want, what their pain points and needs are, you can develop the thing that you're creating to be in alignment with what they want. And if you're in business, you want it to be something that they're willing to spend money on. I actually have been using my desktop as a bit of a vision board. I have a beautiful image, and I actually have two screens. One has a whole bunch of little icons on it, and the other one is absolutely clear. It only has the image, and it is a beautiful heart-shaped tree in a beautiful meadow with a sunset or a sunrise. I'm going to see if I can share my screen. I don't know if I can in this, can I? There it is. I have my screen not full size. Oh, I can share the one without the icons. Happy me. Okay. Can you see this? No, you can? Okay, great, great. I find this to be so beautiful, so serene, so uplifting. And this is the image logo for my new company called the Legacy of Love Project. And to me, it just says it all. And my business is heart-centered. It's very positive. It changes lives, it changes legacies, it changes families. It changes self-talk for the person who is actually doing it. So I see that every time I'm at my computer, and it is my motivation to keep getting ready to launch my business and my course. And by the way, it is launching in the middle of September. So yay. So excited.
Now,
So-
are you doing any type of a formal type launch that we could help support you?
I would say yes. I'm getting past my dad's memorial this weekend, and then it's all hands on deck, so to speak.
Okay.
But yeah, I would love that. I am finalizing and making sure all my links work for getting information and signing up. And I'm deciding on whether to offer a 5-day challenge. Because as I mentioned the other day in the other mastermind of yours, Kathy, it's like, how do I select what I'm going to talk about that isn't kind of a rehash of what will be in the course? So I'm trying to find that proper alignment. Debbie says, I'm in. Thank you so much. This truly is life-changing. And by the way, I've made it that if two people want to take it together, whether it's like spouses or significant others, so that they're on the same page, it's almost the same price as one person going through. Or if someone wants to help their parent or grandparent or aunt or whatever, and two people are working on the project together, I've made it super, super doable. And I also have made it that people can purchase enrollment as a gift for someone else. So these are the things that are all in play right now. And my dad's memorial is tomorrow, and then I'm back at it for all the things. But I'm planning on launching, let me pull up my calendar. It is the 23rd. That'll be the first day of class. And I will give founding members the choice. If Tuesday is not a good day, we can move that around. It'll basically be a poll of what's going to work best for those who are in the group. And there's going to be a lot of flexibility and a lot of responsiveness to the founding members, which is one of the great things about getting in on the ground level.
Once you create your event, be sure and post it in our Facebook page. We have a Facebook page for this particular group, and it is just called the 5-day challenge. And so you can look that up and actually post it there.
Thank you for that. Thank you. So I will keep you all informed. If anybody wants to drop their email in the chat, I'll be happy to copy the chat and keep you informed directly. So that's purely optional. And by the way, if anybody isn't familiar with how to save the chat, you look at the lower right corner of the chat box, and there are 3 little dots. If you click those, there is an option to save the chat, and that captures everything that is in there. Yeah, Debbie.
Mason said that on his board he has a poem, Our Greatest Fear. Is that actually a line from the poem, or is that the title?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
That's actually the title of the poem. It's really good. I'm not going to tell you what it says. You should look it up yourself.
I'm going to.
So
Thank you. Thank you for that. To save the chat on mobile, I'm not sure, Kathy. I don't know if I've done that. Do you know if we can?
Yes.
Well,
Mhm.
yeah, on the mobile, it's the same little three dots. I think that's where it is on the mobile. Do you, Shanti, when you go to type a chat to everyone, or to the host and panelists, do you have those little dots? If not, screen print it. Scroll to the section you want to save and just make a screen print on your phone.
Okay. Okay, like that. Okay. Okay. On the mobile, it only gives chat, webinar settings, background and effects, and disconnect audio and raise hand. That's all.
Okay, so just go ahead and make a screen print. Just scroll to the section you want and just make a screen print.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent, excellent.
Does Shanti have an email?
I do. I'm typing it in as we
Oh,
speak.
perfect. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I'm going to put a little plug in for Ruth. I think Ruth has been on this a couple times, hasn't she?
Mm-hmm.
And I did her reboot relationship last night, and I'm telling you, she rocked it right out of the ballpark.
Wow.
Man, it was good. So if she ever offers it again, you guys really need to participate. There was only 3 ladies that participated. No, 3 ladies and a man. Brendan, he was there, but he didn't talk at all. He just listened. But it was great. So I'm just going to put a little plug in there for Ruth.
Well,
And-
so Ruth has done a 5-day challenge, and then Ruth has also done the masterclass. Sherry has done an actual 5-day challenge, and Linda's contemplating doing a 5-day challenge with her launch. And Debbie, did you say you had one lined up, or are you going to moderate this one first before you launch one of your own?
Oh, that's a tough question. I'm not quite, I know what I want to do, and I'm not quite there to do it, but I'm going to think about that the way you put
Okay.
that. After I don't want to wait till after, because that puts me into next year, and I don't really want to do that.
Okay.
So it might be sooner.
So where we're headed with this is once you do a 5-day challenge, and again, I'll call it a 5-day, can be once a week, once a month, once every day. It's 5 sessions of something. Once you do that, think about and consider, because again, I'm a passive income coach, consider recording something and making it evergreen. And evergreen means that you do not need to show up in person. Once you record your presentation, get permission from your attendees to use that. And you can actually play that as a marketing tool without ever actually being present. And a 1-day masterclass works really well for that. You've probably seen them all over Facebook. You see a topic you're interested in and you click on it, and it's this person just presenting, kind of like, they're telling their story, and they've got folks that they can interview, and there's all kinds of things going on in that masterclass, but it's all pre-recorded. And then at the end, if you're interested to go further, you click the button or whatever. And so you can actually turn your 5-day sessions or a single masterclass, you can actually turn that into something evergreen that you can market over and over without you even being present.
Kathy,
Yes.
in order to do Failing Forward, did you have to get permission from Max?
John Maxwell?
Yes, sorry.
Yes. I am a John Maxwell team member. I actually am certified under John Maxwell. I took his certification course. And so once I took the certification course, I was allowed to use his material. And since this is my meetup, all you gals and guys are doing is taking a turn at facilitating it, but I have permission to use the John Maxwell book. So I do recommend, if you're going to use an actual book, to do like we're doing, John Maxwell's Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. If you choose a book, do make a connection with the author and let them know that you'd like to do a mastermind or something, and use the book. And it could be that as long as you give them credibility and kudos, which is what we do with John Maxwell, if you go to my meetup or go to my Facebook group or wherever this is mentioned, you will see that the link to buy the book goes directly back to Amazon, and John Maxwell gets credit for the sale of the book. I don't get any credit, or it's not an affiliate or anything for me. But if I turn this into a paying mastermind, then John allows me to keep everything that I earn from a paid session if I wanted to use his book, actually. And now I'm not. Once I created the mastermind of this group where we're breaking it down, I'm not using any particular book. We're just going through the steps on how to launch a 5-day challenge or a masterclass. So we're just using his book in this free meetup.
Okay.
Does that help answer your question?
Yes, tremendously.
Okay.
Okay. Did anybody else want to share what they dream about? Did I hear from everyone? Shanti.
Okay, I have something. It's really a quote. I wrote it last year in December. So it says, happiness is when what you think, what you say, and what you do are all in harmony. That's from Gandhi. When I read that, I said, oh my gosh, like, I think that's all I want. So if I could come together and do all of that, like, that will be it for me.
For sure. Wow.
Yeah.
Have any of us ever had a job where what you were doing was not in alignment with your core values, or even just with your personality type? Oh my gosh. It's such a blessing to be past that.
Yeah, I'm getting out of that now.
Good for you. And you're ahead of the game. My goodness.
Thank you.
Wow. John's other question is, what do you sing about? And to me, I wasn't really sure what that meant. It could mean literally when you're singing, do you sing, gospel? Do you sing country? Do you sing rap? I mean, I don't know if that's what he means, or does he just mean what makes you happy? So I took the happy line because you got to pick something. And I thought, well, that's when I get to share something with someone that makes their life a little bit easier or a little bit better. And that really is the goal of all the coaching that I do. So that makes me feel very happy and fulfilled. Anybody else have a thought on that?
I love it when I'm at the next airport getting ready to fly out for my next trip. That's what makes me sing. I love to travel.
That is great.
We have a tribe trip coming up, by the way. Anyone that is interested, that is local, on the 31st, August 31st, which is this coming Wednesday, we are doing a brunch at Cedar Falls at the Inn and Spa at Cedar Falls in Logan, Ohio at 10 a.m. So anyone, I'm supposed to turn in my RSVP today, so I'll mention that. If anyone wants to join us, let me know. It's a Wednesday, the 31st, August 31 at 10 a.m. So if you're interested, let me know ASAP, because my plan was to turn in my RSVPs after this meetup this morning.
Perfect. Thank you for that. I love all the events that you do, and for those who are local, the different things you do, the walkthroughs, the meetups, it's just another layer of involvement and relationship building.
Thank you.
Anybody else on what makes them happy or what makes them sing? Shanti?
Yes, so for me, I can just say that when I'm in a room with like-minded people and we're conversing and sharing all these ideas, I can go on and on and on and sing about it on and on and on. So that really makes me happy.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought of another way to say that question. What makes your heart sing? I think that resonates with me the best. Typing it on my screen now. There we go. Anybody else have a thought on what makes their heart sing? You guys are shy. My goodness. Or maybe you're not very happy. What is it, Deb?
It's funny how when I'm alone, I'll attempt the singing with my voice now. It's not the best, but I love it when I'm around my grandkids. I love it. And they make my heart sing because I see all that what they're doing and they're enjoying what they're doing. So that's my answer.
Yeah, that is excellent. I know as my dad was proceeding through his very devastating illness, the thing that was the best medicine of all for him was the grandkids and the great grandkids. It was wonderful. Mason, any ideas? Or is your audio not good right now?
I don't know. Can you hear me okay?
Kinda. I think we may be able to do it.
So when you say what makes my heart sing, what gets me excited, I actually have a group of songs on my phone under my YouTube, and it's what I call motivational music. But to me, most of them are about like the underdog, the little guy, the underdog, moving forward, fighting against it, fighting a good fight, finding their place. That's the kind of theme topic musically that I like that gets me going. So finding your place or fighting the uphill battle, that's kind of what gets me going.
Yeah. It is amazing if you have a bit of a playlist that is very motivational. That is so useful. Thank you for that. And then John's third question is, what do you cry about? And then I'll do a call back to Mike Kim. What breaks your heart? And what came to my mind when I thought about that is, it breaks my heart to see people who are overwhelmed and stuck and not growing and not free. What I do in coaching and in helping people with tech and in helping people with the legacy of love is to help them get past that really stuck place and grow and develop and experience freedom and experience lightness and experience utter smoothness and effortlessness. And that is the goal in all the things that I help people with. So when I see them at that starting point, I've been there, to use a word, it sucks. And anything I can do to help people get out of that, I will do it. Any other thoughts from you all? What do you cry about, or what breaks your heart?
I'd like to address this. When I heard that from Mike Kim, and I thought, okay, I definitely want to weave that into my story. And so when I really thought about, and again, to use his phrase, what pisses you off and then what breaks your heart, what really, and I'll use his word, what really pisses me off in my business of passive income is that the folks that need it the most can afford to learn about it the least. And that's what pisses me off about it. And so that's why when I created, once I knew that's what it was, that's how I felt about it. Then I knew that I could create a program that folks could do from home, that was very cost effective. It was all those things. See, I had to enter the conversation in their minds, that they can afford it the least. They don't have the car to get to school. They don't have the income to get a higher education degree. They don't have babysitters, to take care of the 5 kids, and they're working 2 jobs, and they've got a car that maybe doesn't run very well, and they don't feel that they maybe have the clothes that they can wear to be out in a college and campus type environment, and it's just not in the cards for them. And that's what was pissing me off. So I wanted to create something that could come right into their home, right in on their computer. They could do it virtually if they wanted. They could meet up in person if they wanted to build deeper connections, but they didn't have to. And they could actually make a difference in their world. And I realized that for those folks that sometimes $200 a month might make a difference on what kind of car they drive. And $500 a month might make a difference in what zip code they live in or what school their kids go to. And so sometimes 200 to 500 to even $1,000 could change somebody's world completely. And so what breaks my heart then is that it's the kids of those families that suffer the most, because it's the kids that are going to the wrong school, that maybe can't participate in the sports because the families don't have the funds to do that, or they don't have, the clothes to wear, and all the other kids make fun of them. And so it's the kids that suffer when the parents can't take the next step in their financial situation. So anyway, that's what pisses me off. That's what breaks my heart. And once I wove that into my story, you can see how it just goes right along with the passive income coaching that I want to do. So that's how I interpreted that. So back to you, Linda.
That's a pretty big why. Yeah. Wow. That's what a motivator that is. Thank you for that. Mason.
So the thing that upsets me, and this is what drives my writing, is because it comes from me.
We're breaking up again.
You feel stuck on those emotions.
Maybe you could do sign language.
Better yet. Let's try this. Can you hear me this way?
So far.
Can you hear this now?
So far.
How's that? Is that better?
Yeah.
Good. I took this off because obviously it's not working. The thing that upsets me is when you feel stuck in life, you're lost, you're on this path, and you look around, you don't know, how did I get here? And that feeling of frustration, helplessness, that's actually what bothers me most. And that's actually what drives a lot of my writing. As Debbie mentioned, you had one guy on the call, he didn't say a word. As guys, we don't. We know better than to say anything. We're not supposed to. And I write about those topics. Don't laugh, Kathy, I'm being serious. That's why I write about those topics, because it's a vulnerability piece. And the thing I freely admit is every time I write something that's vulnerable, it's either something I'm going through or a friend is. And you'll never know which unless you're a close friend of mine. I'll never admit to which it is unless I really know you. But I put it out there because if I have friends who are talking about this but don't want to talk about it, then I'll write about it. And you just don't know. But it's that feeling of, and that drove my whole book. Waking up one day in a steel mill years ago going, how the heck did I get here? I could recite the steps, but emotionally, how did I get here? And that's actually sparked an entire book based on that. So that's what upsets me when people get those feelings and have that. So.
Yeah. And they don't know where to turn and they don't know how to start. Yep. Exactly. Anyone else? What do you cry about, or what breaks your heart?
I guess you could say, with what everyone has been saying, is why I chose the title for my book. It started with a daydream, child abuse to entrepreneurship. And what I want people to realize is they can make a difference, and it's not that hard, and they can accomplish what they desire. I think that kind of is a repeat, but I agree with everything you guys are saying. That ticks me off, and that makes me cry, and it just breaks my heart to see those that depend on saying, well, I did this in my childhood, I can't fit in. They are so wrong. It's that's all I got.
Yeah. I mean, when you see those, whatever those kinds of injustices are against children, that is something that can break your heart and piss you off both. Yeah. Any thoughts, Shanti?
Yes. So for me, I have a really hard time, or it breaks my heart when I see people having really, really heavy thoughts, and it places them in a position to where they don't think that they can do anything else. But when I listen to them and they speak to me, it lets me know what they're thinking. And it's really the thoughts that's making it feel so heavy. And that breaks my heart to know that, like, okay, if we could just try to find a better thought or the next best thought, we could kind of move. So that does that to me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and people don't realize that their thoughts create their reality. I mean, there's actual science behind that.
Yeah.
It's neuroscience. It's how we are. And you're right. When someone is trapped in negative or overwhelmed thinking or defeatism or whatever it is that's going on, they're just creating more of the same. And it's not desirable in the present. You certainly don't want to build more of that for the future.
Right.
Yeah, thank you. There are so many free ways to get, uplifting encouragement. And this is the best day and age ever to have exposure to all of that. We should all take advantage of these opportunities where positive people can pour into us so we can keep our mindset strong and keep going toward what we're called to do here in the world. So with that, I would like to say thank you, everyone, for all of your wonderful comments and input and for sharing. And as always, these conversations are so valuable. I think we all gain immensely from them. Next month, we're going to meet here again on the 4th Friday of the month, and that is September 23rd, and it'll be 10 a.m. Eastern time. And we will be discussing chapter 7, which is connectors do the difficult work of keeping it simple. And so if you haven't already downloaded the link to the summary, you can download the chat and grab that. Or I actually have the Kindle book and the audio book, and I go through them at the same time. The beautiful thing about having both, I've found, is I can listen while I'm doing something else, but when I hear something amazing, I can go ahead and highlight it in the Kindle. And if you're not already a Kindle fan, something that's great is all the things that you highlight are saved in one little place, and you can just sit and look at all the goodness at one time in one place in your account. So that's what we'll be doing on September 23rd. And I thank you all for being here today. And I'm going to give the floor back to Kathy if your audio is working.
Yes, thank you so much. And on the 23rd, I'm going to be sharing about pricing, how you can price your challenge or your masterclass or mastermind, and also how you can add a VIP if you want to offer it for free. But you still want to monetize some, you can add a whole VIP component to it and kind of like a little upsell. And so you can actually use it at the top of your funnel to attract customers to learn what you're about and what your message is about, and also do a little bit of monetizing with your VIP ticket. So that's what I'll be talking about next month. And then I'll be handing it over to Linda to cover the chapter 7. So thank you everyone for being here today. This has been great. So any last comments before we go?
I do have a quick question. When we were doing the acronyms, HANDS, HANDS, what did the D stand for?
Oh, you're on mute.
I'm on mute. It was a G as in George. And I was going from memory. So I was riffing and saying maybe it was gratitude, like what are you grateful for? I just can't remember. It could be groups, but I think
Okay.
N was networking. So I wasn't able to pull up my notes on that quickly enough. So I wasn't able to give you the whole thing. You might be able to pull it up online. I don't know.
Okay.
And I'll try to have it for next time too.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Any other last comments?
Thanks. This has been a great session.
Yes.
And I actually am looking forward to January when I can do my own.
Very good.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
You are so welcome. And thank you for the opportunity to just get, a little bit more experience, because my dream is to have one or more masterminds of my own. The value of masterminds cannot be overestimated. The energy, the encouragement, and I mean, none of us knows what we don't know. And when you are in a mastermind, as you can see, the group dynamic is so powerful, and that is something that I definitely want to have going on in my world of influence as well. So thank you.
Perfect. All right. With that, I think we're going to go for this month, and we will see everyone on September 23rd. And again, you can go to the meetup.com or to Facebook, and you can look up the group for the 5-day challenge, the 5-day masterclass or mastermind. And inside those groups will be the links. If you don't have them or didn't save them, you can get to the link to download it, either to go to buy the book or to get the overview of the cliff notes, if you will, of the book. So please feel free to get those. And so with that, we're going to go, and we will see everyone next month. So thank you so much for being with us today. See everybody later. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.